Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you very much for joining me here today. This is your one-stop shop for cryptocurrency analysis, among many other things. Now we're taking a look here today at Request Network, which is a big recommendation for my community members. Thank you to my patrons so much for requesting, no pun intended, that I cover this here today. Now, if you are not a patron, feel free to consider subscribing. Recommend the first month. Of course, you get the biggest benefit, but I share all of my trades with my community members, and I send out signals when I see them, so essentially, and these are all trades that I take myself, provide you with entry targets, best practice, and of course, sell targets, everything you really need to know about being a good trader and setting it up on your own. Because my goal is to make sure that you are, more of a lifelong trader. You can trade for a lifetime instead of just for one day, right? That's kind of the whole purpose is. That's why I created this channel. And, I want to thank you all so much for your support. I've had fantastic community and fans, and really couldn't do it without you, right? 11,000 strong in only 4 months. This is really awesome. Thank you. Now, just know I'm not a financial advisor. This is for educational purposes only. You should always do your own research and make sure you take ownership of your own trades and take a little something from everybody if possible, of course, but whatever you learn here today, I can guarantee it will be very effective and very beneficial, so stick through to the end because I tend to try to educate and help you understand more so what things mean, and I think that that's very beneficial in this industry. Okay, don't just take somebody's word for it. Learn yourself, do your own research. It's important. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get to the charts. Let's check it out. All right, folks, let's go ahead and take a look here at Request Network. And just before we do, if you're new to the channel, we always look at Bitcoin and Ethereum first, get a baseline of the market, so we know exactly what's going on. And we're just going to go ahead and cover this again, of course, because I get a lot of requests for this, no pun intended, because you had a lot of violent movements here in the past 48, 72 hours. It's been moving. So let's go ahead and take a look at Request Network. And just before we do, if you're new to the channel, I always utilize Bitcoin 4-hour chart first, and we look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, of course, kind of get a baseline of the market. We'll take a quick peek at the one-day chart as well, because I need to kind of drive a point home here. But to preface, I use TradingView.com desktop application. Make sure you utilize that yourself, because it is a very good charting tool. I have a link in the description below for a free month if you want to kind of use more than 2 indicators and see if you like it. I definitely recommend that, of course, because I have 2 indicators present per time frame, and I use 4 to 5 time frames every time I analyze a chart. So just keep that in mind moving forward here. Now this is, again, the 4-hour chart for Bitcoin, and also note too that the price is under 50,000. Now I get a lot of people saying, well, yes, it went above on the 4-hour chart. Isn't that considered a support level now? That's negative on that one. If the one-day chart does not close above 50,000, it is still considered resistance, right? So this is a resistance level that's drawn from before. It was a hard line in the sand from a while back, and now it still is as well. It's still holding strong as a resistance. So, my speculation here, as I mentioned over the weekend to my signal group, is that I think the price will bounce off of 50,000, possibly come down to 48, and then of course recover from there, because we do have an ascending triangle pattern here, if you can kind of see that, where the price is essentially working in a channel in upward fashion here, and it could very well break upwards. Commonly, 70% of the time, again, statistics, 100% of statistics are made up on the spot, right? Generally speaking, 70% of the time, in my experience, more often than not, when you have an ascending triangle pattern, it's a bullish pattern, it tends to break upwards versus downwards. Now, it's hard to say specifically when it will break above. It could likely test again and then break at that point, but I think we might see another day or two before that happens. It may retrace essentially down to closer to 80,000 and then back up. So just something to be mindful of. That's kind of what we're looking at there. But all in all, still really good shape here for Bitcoin. Things are still moving. We're above the 50-day simple moving average. Obviously, the 200 is trailing behind, and we might actually see the 200 get tested in the next couple of weeks. So we're excited to see what happens there. And again, we do have a divergence on the 4-hour chart for the MACD, which is standard right now, considering it's retraced about 1,500 in the past 8 hours. 8 to 12 hours. All right, so that's Bitcoin. That's kind of what's going on there. Looking at Ethereum, effectively the same thing as well. I mean, I do this support and resistance level here. You can see that it is essentially working as a resistance now, right at about 3,300. It seems to be kind of averaging about 3,300 in the last day or so. But more importantly, we are still above a major support level of 3,250, and 2,900 is a secondary support, along with the 50, as we can see, working as a strong support level. Okay, so if we do lose the price, or at least the price stays below that resistance, and we lose just say 3,250, there's a strong chance the 50-day simple moving average will continue to keep the price above that line and moving forward, right? So just keep that in mind. That's kind of where we're at with Ethereum. All in all, still very good shape for both. Now, Request Network, this is where things get kind of interesting. So let's take a look at the one-day chart first, and we can see in the past, what is that, 10 days maybe? Actually, if we include just say 2 weeks total, we had a significant increase, right? So the very first time I covered this was right back here. We had about a 460% increase in 3 days. Now, at the time, I drew again because I haven't changed these support and resistance levels. These support lines, even though that didn't hold recently, it tried for I think about 8 to 12 hours, but it bounced up and retraced again. So what it's been doing is kind of following this pattern here. And again, most coins, they tend to repeat themselves for patterns. So pay attention to that. And just generally speaking, the common pattern for cryptocurrency is that the price jumps up 100%, right? So if the bottom is 0, top is 100, it jumps up 100% and then retraces approximately 50%. Fibonacci retracement will get like 60, 40%, but it usually averages out right around the center. So that's how I drew this line here. It held originally, and then we lost. Price comes up and comes back down. Now it's likely going to be working as a support level again. Now, the main reason why I feel like that is the case is just because that's kind of the average, kind of the normal way in which cryptocurrency averages itself out, but it had to fall back down this far based on the simple fact that it went up so quickly. It just had to crash back down, right? It's just kind of that natural law of gravity or just cryptocurrency, whatever you want to call it. What goes up must come down, especially if it comes up that quickly. It didn't have any time to get a good momentous bull run rather. It had no time at all, just shot straight to the moon, so to speak, and then it comes crashing down. Either way, that's kind of what you see here. That's the reason why that happened. That explains that. Now, looking at the 4-hour chart here, let's go ahead and take a closer look here. You can kind of see that this support level was tested, rejected, and then broke above. And now the secondary resistance, which was previously resistance as well, is now it got tested again. So right around 37 cents is a major resistance, and a major support is about 26 cents. Okay, so 26.37. That's kind of starting to average out. It's also working itself as an average for the 50. So the nice thing is the 50-day simple moving average is kind of working also as a support level here. We do have, again, a divergence on the MACD, but the beautiful thing here is that you can see it's starting to average out. And if we can get a little bit of a pump, then we'll go ahead and see a convergence, and that should likely be a strong push to the upside with, of course, some bullish momentum. Now, keep in mind here, though, this is something to understand. The RSI is now under 50, therefore it's considered to be bearish sentiment, and in turn, it could spend a little bit of time below there, because that does happen sometimes with states of consolidation, like we're seeing right now. All in all, I like this consolidation because it didn't retrace down super far, but as you can see, again, look at this history. Comes up here, comes down about 50% of the way, almost 60% of the way down, and then jumps back up. Didn't make higher highs and higher lows. It essentially got retraced, got rejected by the price right there at 37 cents, and it starts trailing back down again to about 50%. Okay, so it's kind of trending itself in this direction. So hypothetically, if it continues this, it'll just keep working itself into a small kind of a pattern, so to speak, or we could possibly see something along this lines or these lines here to essentially be driving the price up. Now I think that the probability that's kind of low. I'm just kind of throwing a line out there. Honestly, this is not an ascending bullish triangle pattern that we're hoping for, because it hasn't had higher highs and higher lows. It's basically capped out right there, and it's working itself into a wedge. So just keep that in mind. We may not see anything happen in that sense as far as a breakout. We will probably wait for the price to kind of slowly digress. And I feel also too that the fact that Bitcoin has been performing the way that it has a lot to do with this too. Even though this is obviously moving independent of Bitcoin, if Bitcoin pumps up and goes past 50,000 and holds and closes above the one-day chart essentially, then we're going to see that bullish momentum and that bullish trend in the altcoin industry, and something coins like these will start to take off because they need to have a little bit more sense and security to continue on, right? So this kind of reminds me of Ethereum Classic when it pumped up and did really big. It just got held down really hard because of the fact that Bitcoin kept selling off. Now, Bitcoin is in a bullish trend right now, so I feel like Request Network will continue to progress upwards in due time. So if you're going to, just loosely right now before looking at all the other charts, if you're going to jump in and essentially take a position here, set a stop loss that's fairly close. I would set your stop loss no lower than 20 cents, because that's where the current bottom is at in the most recent trend. So just consideration here. Please be mindful. If you do take entry, put your stop loss right there. And if you have an entry point right now and you're hoping it goes higher, keep your stop loss there or move it to 20 cents to ensure that you still take profit if it does drop down below that. But this is still feeling, bullish. I still see some good signs here that I think that are going to work out favorably for Request Network. All right, so we've already identified MACD and RSI. Again, it's fairly bearish, but on the same accord, that's standard for this type of movement. It has to come back down. All right, so moving on to the 1 hour chart, let's go ahead and see what the cloud tells us. That's pretty obvious. The price is below the cloud. So just as you saw back here, do you see when the price pumped up here and jumped above the cloud? I would recommend waiting until the price comes up above the cloud again, bounces hopefully off the support level of 26 cents, and then decides to continue to go on another run. Because as we can see here with this history, when it jumps up, it continues on. It continues to ramp up. So there's a strong chance if we can do this here and we can get a ramp up, it might push and break this resistance of about 40 cents. Okay. So that's just, again, something to consider, of course, but with the Ishimoku cloud, the price being under is considered a no buy zone right now, but we're really not that far. If we keep going sideways like this, we'll literally be above the cloud just by this natural progression of sideways consolidation. So I like what I see here. I mean, I would speculate what that's about 12 to 24 hours. We'll see a potential break through the cloud. If that happens and we got a MACD convergence on the 4 hour chart, I would say take entry and go long and hold on and buckle up, buckle your seatbelts, because we'll see one of these two resistance levels tested, 37 and or 40 cents. Let's go ahead and see well, this is going to be pretty self-explanatory, but TD sequential, yeah. Just so you know, if you're ever familiar with TD sequential, you're looking for a 9 to kind of get a reversal. When states in consolidation like this are lasting like this, you get these 1s and 2s just consistently. It really makes no difference. So do not pay attention to this. If the price does break above the cloud and we start seeing some trending upwards, then look at the TD sequential to see how much longer you have left in your bull run. Because as we can kind of see back here, you see it hit a 9 up here, reset, and then eventually came back down. I would venture to guess too, we look back here as well, we'll see something similar. There's a 9 and a retracement. So it's kind of a common theme in trading is to see really about 9 hours of bullish or bearish momentum and the price to essentially reverse because the bulls or bears are exhausted. All right, so that's TD sequential. Moving on to the 15-minute. There's not much to disseminate here, I'm venturing to guess as well, because the price, again, states in consolidation like this, the price is going to be above or below. Oops, looks like... yeah, sorry, I moved that earlier. Should be about 26 cents. That's the support there. Anyways, what I was getting at is the fact that the VWAP and the EMA lines, right? They typically tell us when there's bullish and bearish momentum. Okay, so when the bulls are in control, you can see the price is just riding the red line all the way up. And then it comes down to test, and it tests the blue line there, which is a volume weighted average price, and just basically holds it above. Because the VWAP is considered a support level, it moves continuous with the price, takes the last 24 hours of volume and expresses it as a price, therefore works as a support and resistance. But in states of consolidation like right now, you're not going to see much benefit from it. These indicators don't really matter all that much when you're in states of consolidation because the bulls and the bears are just kind of fighting back and forth. I'm going to buy, I'm going to sell, I'm going to buy, I'm going to sell. It's kind of a tedious, ridiculous process. This is where all the computers and the bots and the industry leaders are kind of just kind of buying in and selling a lot, but generally speaking, that's kind of it's discovering its price right now. But the volume really doesn't tell us much at this point based on the simple fact that it's consolidating and going sideways. The key takeaway here is that we got a strong support level at about 26 cents, as well as the fact that we have major resistances at 37 and 40. So like I mentioned before, be very careful in taking entry. Set your stop loss at about 20 cents. Make certain that you respect the support level here at about 26 cents and see how the price responds. If we can get the price to break above the Ishimoku cloud on the 1 hour chart, we'll be in really good shape to essentially consider taking a long position. And furthermore, if we can get this 4 hour swing on the MACD convergence to get it to converge. In other words, when this kind of just does a little swing upwards, probably seen it plenty of times before. It looks something like that. This is the case in point where you want to take entry right there. Right, and that typically coalesces with the Ishimoku cloud. So you'll either get one or the other to signal first. So it wouldn't hurt for you to maybe consider adding an indicator here or an alert so you can get a notification on that. I would say that'll happen probably within the next 12 to 24 hours. And that's based on this here, right here. As you can see on the Ishimoku cloud, the price, if it continues to go sideways here, like this, and this will kind of slowly digress as well based on the price movement. So we will see a natural, if the price can just continue to ride out 26 cents, we'll see a natural break above the cloud, and that would be a good consideration for a long position, because as you can see, every time the price breaks above the cloud, it does some pretty awesome things. Okay. So all in all, again, even though we got some bearish signals right now, I think it's completely bullish right now, and it's going to take off again, because this is nice. Even though again it got broken here and it didn't make a new higher highs, it is making higher lows, right? So that's something to acknowledge. Higher lows are important when you look at the larger time frames. Okay. Higher lows. So again, just something to think about. But I hope you did find benefit here. If you do, please consider subscribing. I would recommend checking out my signal group as well if you liked what you saw here. Of course, today I utilize this in all of my signals that I send out to my community. And of course, I send out as many signals as possible throughout the weeks to ensure that we all, basically trade together, because I share all of my trades with my community members. So if you're interested in that, check that out. If nothing else, reference my Telegram community too. And I want to thank you, of course, if you made it this far. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.